Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while. It's Power Up Boxing, and I just wanted to make a video because a lot of good fights lately, a lot of upcoming fights that are getting me really excited. This is a very good year of boxing, and we're finally getting the fights we should get, like all the time. And if you look at the schedule, you'll know what I mean, guys. But anyway, it's 2 a.m. here. I live in Canada, so it's pretty late now, but I just want to make a video because we just witnessed a great welterweight fight. Yordenis Ugás versus Errol Spence. And I'm not going to lie, I lost $100 on this fight because Bet365 gave me this promotion that if I deposited $10, I got $250 free betting credits. So why not, right? So technically I didn't really lose money, but I put $75 on Errol Spence by decision, and then I put $25 on Yordenis Ugás by decision. And obviously it didn't go to decision, so I was pissed about that. But yeah, if Yordenis Ugás won by decision, I would have made $150, and if Spence won, I would have made $50. So either way, I would have won if it went to decision. I would have minimum won $25 up to $150. But it is what it is. The eye was shut, and he couldn't see from the eye. Let's be honest. I don't want a guy going blind in one eye. And Ugás is he did not want to give up at all. He did not want the fight stopped. And you seen when the doctor looked at his eye the second time, he knew what the doctor was going to say to him, and he knew he couldn't see. The eye was shut completely. And as the doctor was shaking his head no Yordenis Ugás kind of ignored him and walked away and got into his fighting stance, going towards the middle of the ring to ignore. But the ref seen what the doctor was saying, and he stopped the fight. So I can't complain and about the stoppage, even though I lost money. But I can complain about what the ref did in the 6th round. That was bullshit. I did not expect Yordenis Ugás to hurt Errol Spence at all. I expected him, if he was going to win this fight, he was going to win by decision and outpoint him. But it was still going to be a tough task. That's why I bet for the fight to go to the distance, but it didn't. But if it wasn't for the eye, I think it would have, because I don't think Yordenis Ugás was hurt by any headshot. Maybe body shots slowed him down a bit. But you could also say the same for Errol Spence. I think body shots slowed him down. But it was obviously hard to tell because Errol Spence's work rate was just crazy. But the shots that Ugás did land were super clean. Out of the two fighters, Ugás landed the cleaner shots, perfect clean shots. And I'm not saying Spence didn't land clean shots. He did, but if I had to pick between the two, Ugás's shots were super clean. Some of the body shots he landed were right in the middle of the solar plexus. He landed perfectly with the right hand. Uppercuts perfectly. The right hands he landed were straight, picture perfect shots. The problem was he wasn't active enough, and it did look like Ugás was just looking to land the very clean shots and maybe hurt Spence, and it worked. The 6th round, he landed that super clean shot and he hurt Spence. I was shocked. I thought when it first happened, I thought it was something to do with Errol Spence's eye. I thought he hit his eye a certain way, and then Spence, that's why he kind of looked away. And then I was like, oh shit, his eye is done. Something happened here. They might have to stop this. Fight might be over. But then, so as that happening, Spence is kind of looking into space. I'm like, what's going on there? And then Ugás threw a 1-2 and landed the right hand perfectly and the rope saved Spence from going down, which should be a knockdown, but he didn't count. Ref didn't count it a knockdown. And I hate when they do that because they do that a lot, and I feel like that's a rule. I thought that was a rule. If the ropes help you from going down, it should be a knockdown, but a lot of refs don't like call that a knockdown. I don't know if I'm wrong, guys. Isn't that a rule? Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was. But anyway, maybe it's at the ref's discretion, I guess, if it is a rule. But I was like, wow, Spence's eye, something happened here when he landed, because it didn't look like Ugás landed a really hard shot, but it looked like he landed something inside, and it was an uppercut. And obviously the ref fucked it up, and what I mean by that is I didn't see, in real time, I didn't know Spence dropped his mouthpiece, and that's why he looked away. But I found it kind of strange why Spence looked away like that. For an elite fighter to lose total concentration and look at the mouthpiece. And he did say in the interview after the fight that it was a rookie mistake, but just like, it makes me question, was he actually hurt and stunned? Because I believe he was, because how could you make that mistake when you know a guy's coming at you and you look away completely oblivious? It makes no sense. And then he gets caught very clean. And I just don't know why an elite fighter would make that mistake. Unless the only explanation I would have is he was either hurt and he was out of it, and that's why he looked away like that. He lost complete concentration and looked at what fell on the ground because he got hit clean and he was kind of out of it. Or that's just never happened to him and he thought Ugás wasn't going to do anything. But I don't know. Like, to me, it looked like the way he stopped, it looked like he was hurt bad to the point where he didn't know where he was for a second. Like stunned. And then Ugás landed a perfect right hand because he was, like I said, Spence wasn't even paying attention. And he pretty much got knocked down if the ropes weren't there. Credit to Spence, though, for staying up because he got caught flush. It kind of reminded me of that heavyweight fight that took place like a month or two ago. I forget who it was now. Was it like Craig Richards or some guy with the dreads? Black guy with the dreads. I forget his name now. I think it might have been Craig Richards. I forget who was fighting now. I think he was fighting... Was it Areola or someone? I forget what that fight was, to be honest. I forget who it was, but he kind of just like... He was doing good in the fight, and then he got... Oh, no, it was Luis Ortiz. That's the fight. King Kong Ortiz versus... What was it, Craig Richards maybe? Or some heavyweight with dreads, I remember. He was putting up a pretty good game, pretty good fight for Ortiz. And then he got hit with something on the ropes, and he just froze and stared into space. He just stopped and gazed. I'm like, wow. He was gone. He was looking far into the galaxy, into the universe, contemplating like the existence of everything. And then Ortiz just hammered him, and the refs had to stop it, obviously. That's what it reminded me of, kind of, when Spence got hit like that. He kind of looked into space, but I guess he was looking at his mouthpiece. But the way he looked at it, I don't know. I questioned if he was actually hurt. He said he wasn't hurt, but I really don't know. That's a bad rookie mistake if he wasn't hurt, because he could have been put out completely. Who knows? If that was like say that was a KO artist, like maybe like a Keith Thurman punch or someone, maybe that would have put Spence out completely, right? I'm not saying Ugás is a light puncher. He's got a decent punch, and it showed. He dropped him if it wasn't for the ropes. But I'm saying some fighters like Keith Thurman or like a Golovkin or a Canelo would have put Spence out completely, or even a Crawford maybe would have just put him out if they hit a right hand like that on him when he was out of it like that, looking for his mouthpiece. But I criticize the ref, because as that was happening and he got hit with that right hand and sent him to the ropes, he was hurt. There was a little time left in the round, and the ref completely stops the action to get his mouthpiece. Now, I know you're supposed to stop the fight for the fighter to pick up his mouthpiece, but that's when the action kind of calms down and when things kind of settle down and exchange isn't happening. But when you rock a guy and his mouthpiece comes down and you keep on attacking him and he's hurt, you should not stop it for the guy to recuperate. And that's my opinion. I think the ref made a mistake there. He should have let it play out a bit longer until the round was almost done. I think it was like maybe 30 seconds left. I could be wrong. I don't think there was much time left. So I think he should have just let the round continue completely. Obviously, if there was more time left in the round, I would have waited until both fighters kind of reset. They're in the middle of the ring. Exchanges aren't really happening for the last 10 seconds, then or 5 seconds or whatever, and then you ask him to pick up his mouthpiece. But when clearly a guy is getting battered and almost dropped, you should not stop it. And maybe he robbed Ugás of a knockout, who knows. But Spence took that right hand. He didn't go down. So I don't know if Ugás would have stopped him, even if the ref didn't stop it. We'll never know. But in my opinion, I don't think Ugás maybe would have got him out of there. He maybe would have landed a couple more shots and maybe hurt Spence, maybe put him down possibly, but not got him out of there, I don't think. So I don't think it affected the outcome of the fight, maybe, because maybe it possibly could have. We'll never know. But if I had to say, I would say Spence was going to make it out of the round even if the ref didn't stop the fight there. But yeah, I just didn't like how the ref handled that. But other than that, I don't know, the ref was stopping the fight a lot with the low blows. He was giving recuperation time to Ugás and Spence for the low blows. But I don't know, like I'm not crazy. I didn't have too much criticism of those stoppages for the low blows, telling each fighter to keep them up and pausing the action. But I do have a problem when Ugás had Spence clearly hurt. And what's his name? PBC's, the Latino guy, the commentator and guy who works for PBC was covering. If you weren't watching the Showtime crew and you're watching the PBC one, I was watching the PBC one. That Latino guy, I forget his name now, but he was pissed off. He's like, "What is the ref doing? This is a terrible job by the ref." I'm like, right on. I'm like, he's calling it as it is, right on. So I appreciate that. He wasn't trying to just look past it. He was calling it. You could tell the emotion in his voice. So I like that. I like that guy. I forget his name right now, but if you know, put his name in the comments section. Great welterweight fight, and this is what we want. This is what we want in boxing. And I think Ugás proved that he did deserve the win against Pacquiao. I know Pacquiao people say he was old. I know Pacquiao said his legs weren't there, and it did look like his legs weren't there as much. But Ugás's counter-punching ability is elite, in my opinion. He was landing counters on Spence like he did on Pacquiao. I don't know if he's just good at fighting like southpaws, and he knows how to counter them very well, but he was landing precise counter shots on Spence, and he wasn't throwing enough, and that was the problem. And he was getting, Spence was just outworking him so badly later in the fight as well, that it would have been hard to climb back into the scorecard unless he dropped him or knocked him out. And like I said, the first 5 rounds, 6 rounds, first half of the fight, Ugás was doing enough because he was landing so clean and he was hurting Spence. His shots were more clean, and you could see them more, better. They were landing. It's kind of like the Stanionis versus Butaev fight. Stanionis' shots were just landing a lot cleaner, and you could see them better. And I feel like even though Ugás was getting outworked, his shots were really clean, and he was winning them rounds, and then he was hurting Spence, doing more damage with his shots. So I feel like that is why he was doing good in the first half. But then Spence just kept on pouring it on. He actually got more energetic as the fight went on. Until maybe the last 2 rounds, he slowed down a little bit, but Ugas's eye was just done. So it really didn't matter at that point that Spence was maybe slowing down for the last 2 rounds before the fight got stopped. I think because Ugás did land very good body shots in the last 2 rounds of the fight, and that kind of slowed down Spence a little bit. But like I said, it was too late. The eye was done, and I really think if the eye didn't shut completely, we would have got a better fight. I think Ugás still would have lost, but he would have made it obviously to the end, and he would have landed better clean shots, because you could tell at the start of the fight he was sharp. He was sharp as fuck, Ugás. Like, you got to give respect to him. Like, he belongs at the elite level, in my opinion. He's better than a B-level fighter. That's what I considered him going in the Pacquiao fight. I thought he was a B-level fighter. And yeah, you could say Pacquiao was old, and that's true. But he proved to me that that wasn't a fluke with his performance here. I just think the eye was so fucked up that he couldn't see at all, that he started going into a shell completely, but he wasn't like, he was just like leaning on Spence because he knew like he couldn't stay at a distance anymore and kind of use the jab because he couldn't see anymore. So he was in survival mode in the clinch, and he was just trying to land what he could and maybe land that overhand right and do something. But you could tell that eye was just affecting him so bad for the last couple of rounds. And his output slowed down. He wasn't using his jab anymore, really. He was just inside. He would throw the occasional overhand right and hooks and like uppercuts and stuff. But yeah, that eye was just, it did him in. And you know what? I did not expect Spence to get hurt in this fight. And he did. So Ugás did better than I thought in that department. I thought he was going to make it to the end of the fight, but obviously the eye is what prevented him. Not that he got hurt or anything, like he wasn't concussed or like dazed or anything. It was just the eye. So I really did think Ugás did better than I thought, in the sense that I never thought he would ever hurt Spence, and he did. And I don't care that you could use the excuse, oh, yeah, but Spence was he was looking for his mouthpiece. Well, why were you looking for your mouthpiece? Like, in the way he was looking for his mouthpiece, he completely switched concentration from a fight to looking for something on the ground. Like, that's terrible. Like, why would you do that? Like, he just totally, it's like you have ADHD. You're like doing one thing and then you totally switch your concentration. It's like he forgot he was in a fight for a split second. He was looking for something on the ground, like he's strolling in the park and he dropped something. Like, so I credit Ugás with landing a good shot and stunning Spence to the point where he looked like that, in my opinion. So yeah, but you got to give credit. Spence stayed on his feet. He got hit so flush. A lot of people would have got knocked out. He stayed on his feet. And this is the best shape I've ever seen Spence in my opinion. His nutritionist that he hired, this is the first time he's ever had a nutritionist, and it showed. He looks so lean and so skinny. I'm like, wow, like, when I looked at Spence, I'm like, this guy looks small now. Like, his body looks small. I'm like, wow. And it's just because he's so lean. He looks so tiny now, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't have problem cutting weight. This is what he should have been doing from the start. Like, walking around almost the same what he's fighting on, not ballooning up to 180. He was saying he was walking around at. That's way too much for welterweight to be walking around at. So that nutritionist really did great things for him, because he never had endurance issues really, but this just made him super endurance like he just, as the fight went on, he just raised his level, like endurance wise. Like, I'm not saying he adapted and like he figured Ugás out. I wouldn't say he did. I wouldn't say he figured Ugás out. I think he was just the inside game. He was just so relentless and he threw so many punches that it didn't matter what game plan Ugás had. Eventually, he was going to break you down because he's just throwing so many punches. So the game plan kind of stayed the same from the very beginning with Spence. Maybe he switched into more inside fighting as the fight went on, so maybe he did do that adjustment. He went from fighting from a distance, middle distance, and inside fighting to completely fighting at inside fighting as the fight went on. He just went totally inside fighting, and it was working because Ugás's eye was just shutting. And then just the body shots to the head shots. And like I said, I've never seen a work rate like that since like a Manny Pacquiao. Maybe like a, what's his name? Mugia against Gabe Rosado. That work rate was crazy as well. So I just think this is the best shape I've ever seen Errol Spence in. His work rate was the most impressive thing about him in this fight. But I still do have concerns with him. He was getting hit very clean with good counter shots for the majority of the fight. I'd say Ugás was pretty consistent with landing good counter shots. As the fight went on, he stopped throwing as much, but just because the eye was just completely fucked up. And I think the body shot slowed him down too. But my concerns is not that, like, I think Spence will probably beat everyone, but I don't know if he'll beat Crawford, to be honest. And I like Spence's style better, but Crawford is just, he proves you wrong every time. He could be down on the cards, he could be being outworked, but then he lands that one counter and he puts you on Bambi legs. Like you got the stanky legs, and like that's what Crawford does. Like fighters like Gervonta Davis does that. Wilder would do that. Fighters, I would say, who comes to mind more, I would say, is like a Wilder and a Gervonta Davis. They'll be losing the fight, but then they'll land that one counter shot, and then it'll change the whole outcome of the fight. And I do think Crawford, though, is better than those guys skill-wise. Obviously better than Wilder. Gervonta Davis, though, does got skills, but I feel like Terence Crawford is more, like, he's more versatile. His body type, he's longer than Gervonta Davis, so he can do more. But I just feel like Crawford cannot be that exciting sometimes, and he won't really win the round definitively, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Like, he'll land good shots, but the other guy can possibly outwork him. But like I said, eventually Crawford's going to land shots on you, and you're going to get hurt, and he's going to stop you. And I just feel like this could be the same case with Errol Spence. Errol Spence will be winning the rounds, and then he'll get hit with something. Because if Ugás will land that clean on you, imagine what Crawford will land on Spence, and he'll hurt him. So I just favor Crawford at this point. From what Ugás showed, I think Crawford can do the same thing, but Crawford's not gonna like get beat down as much, because I feel like inside fighting Crawford would deal with it way better than Ugás did. But counter wise, like, Ugás did great, and I feel like Crawford will do the same. And he'll hurt Spence somewhere in the fight, and he'll possibly stop him, or at least get a couple, maybe a knockdown, and then the fight will change, and I feel like Spence's work rate will go down after he gets hurt, if it does go to decision, and then I feel like Crawford will take over the second half of the fight. But I do feel like if Crawford cannot land good counters on Spence like Ugás could, and he does not hurt Spence, Spence will win a decision. So I feel like decision more, I favor Spence. Knockout wise, I favor Crawford. But that's all dependent on if Crawford's countering the shit out of Spence, and he doesn't. Still, maybe Spence doesn't get knocked out. I feel like Crawford can still win a decision. But yeah, I just say Spence decision, Crawford knockout, but I'm favoring Crawford overall to win that fight. Yeah, so to sum it up, Ugás, true warrior, Spence, true warrior, two top elite welterweights going at it. Both belong there. Both showed that they are champions of, and they are worthy of holding their belts. Ugás didn't want to stop fighting. Doctor said no. He ignored the doctor. He walked out, got back into his fighting stance, back right into the middle of the ring. But doctor's like no to the ref, and he's like, Ugás wanted to still fight to the end. He really wanted that win. And then, great counter shots by Ugás. Hurt Spence badly. Super clean shots. Very good body shots. Just overall, very sharp puncher, Ugás is. And then Spence, the work rate, the endurance, the dog in him, just supreme shape he was in. The work rate is what I highlight for him in this fight. He wasn't going to stop throwing punches. He wasn't going to let Ugás breathe. And ultimately, the eye shut because of that, because of the barrage of punches he was throwing. So, respect to both. Amazing welterweight fight. Errol Spence is now the 3-belt champ. He has Ugás's WBA now. And he kept his own IBF and WBC. So now he just needs the WBO from Crawford. Can't wait for that fight. I was hoping for Ugás to win, but either way, the fans won. Because if Spence won, we were going to get the Crawford fight. If Ugás won, it would have been a great story, right? That he came from, because everyone doubted him in the Pacquiao fight. Everyone doubted him in this fight. So, but he put in a very game effort, and it's just the work rate and the dog and Spence has gave him the victory. So, other than the ref fucking up in the 6th round, maybe Ugás would have dropped Spence in that round, hurt him even more badly. Who knows? But I think the dog and Spence maybe would have kept him from getting stopped. I feel like in that round anyway, even if the ref didn't interfere. And he deserved the win. So that's my only critique of the fight. Other than that, this is what we need in boxing. 2 champions, great fight.